Hello and welcome to another motors.co.uk new car review. Now the car that we're going to be looking at in detail today is the BMW 530e plug-in hybrid. But before we dive in and find out what it's about, please remember to like this video, leave us a comment underneath to tell us what you think of this car. And don't forget to subscribe to the motors.co.uk channel, hitting that bell icon so you're notified each and every time we upload a new video. The 5 Series has been a core part of BMW's range for decades now, but even it must move with the times. And that brings us to this, it's the updated 530e. And what it aims to do is combine the refinement that you expect from one of BMW's most popular saloon cars with the lower running costs and lower emissions that you only get with an electrified powertrain. So let's dive in and find out what it's like. Well, it looks like a 5 Series, doesn't it? BMW has done very well not to shout about the 530e's eco credentials, which is why the only real way of distinguishing this from the rest of the range is to find the charger port, and that's located on the flank of the car. The gloss black detailing on this 5 Series makes it look particularly undercover. The interior of the 530e is a very pleasant place to be indeed. There's loads of piano black detailing which gives it a very high-end feel, and this is contrasted by some lighter, nice aluminium touches which help to brighten up the interior, particularly if you haven't opted for cream and you're going for black instead. The widescreen in the middle is touchscreen too, though you can access it through BMW's rotary controller as well. And to be honest with you, that on the move is far easier than reaching out and trying to select a menu. You also get Apple CarPlay included, so you can link your phone up, and that too displays on the whole area of the screen, unlike with other cars that you might get a slightly cropped version. When it comes to the powertrain options too, you've got some bespoke buttons down here which are able to distinguish between the separate drive modes, and you also have a selection here which is able to put charge from the engine into the battery, which can be useful if you are driving into an area that requires lower emissions and you need more range. It's a common story with hybrids, and the 530e's boot is impacted slightly by the fitment of those batteries. The area is down by 120 litres over the regular car, but that still means it manages to bring a respectable 410 litres of boot space. The 530e shuns the naming convention that we've come to know, so while you might expect that the 530 uses a 3-litre straight-six engine, it is in fact powered by a 2-litre 4-cylinder engine. However, this is then linked to an electric motor and batteries for cleaner running, and in fact the 530e will emit just 48 grams of CO2 per kilometre, which will be a big hit with business users. Plus, keep it topped up and you could see up to 202 miles per gallon, which is quite impressive. Run out of Lecky, however, and you'll still see a reasonable 40 mpg. Despite this, it'll still crack 0 to 60 miles an hour in under 6 seconds. In terms of electric, you're looking at up to 37 all-electric miles at speeds of up to 87 miles an hour. And when it comes to charging, if you can use a home wall box, you're going to get a full charge in just over 2.5 hours. Use a 3-pin plug, and that'll rise to around 5.5 hours. So what's the 530e like to drive? Well, it's largely like a 5 Series really. That electric motor comes in and out with minimal fuss. There's no real change in performance and there's no real shunt as it switches from electric to petrol power. And that makes it, well, it makes it really quite normal. Now you'd think that with a relatively compact 2-litre 4-cylinder engine under the bonnet that the 530e's performance will be quite blunted when you run out of electricity, but that's not the case. It's got more than enough shove, and it's actually incredibly refined when you are running on petrol power alone. That said, the 530e is at its best when it's got charge. Despite the fitment of the extra batteries, which for many electric and hybrid cars upsets the ride, the comfort levels that you get from the 530e are quite impressive. Yes, there's a slightly hard edge to the ride, but that's more likely to have come from the fact that this is an M Sport and sits on stiffened suspension. Realistically, around town and at higher speeds, this is a refined and quiet car, and the ride plays a big part of that. The steering, as we've come to expect from BMWs, is very nicely judged, and you really can take advantage of twisty roads and enjoy the process of driving rather than just slogging it out on the motorway. However, when you are on the motorway, and let's be honest, that's where most 530es are going to find themselves, this settles down to a cruise beautifully well. When you do have charge,
the acceleration that you get from the 530e is really quite nippy. It darts off the line, and then you get the entrance of that 4-cylinder petrol engine, which really does help to elongate the whole process of acceleration. It certainly feels smoother and crisper than the acceleration you get from a diesel, and even against a regular petrol-powered 5 Series, the 530e feels incredibly smooth. But it's that ability to travel with zero emissions that makes the 530e the most appealing, and that really does bring you down to the core part of this car, in that you need to keep it charged up to get the very best from it. You can of course set the car to charge the batteries using power from the engine, but it really is at its most efficient when you're plugging it in and charging it. BMW does claim that you'll get up to 37 miles from a charge. Realistically, around town you're probably going to be looking at more in the region of 30. On colder days, maybe 27. And because the 530e can travel at speeds of up to 87 miles an hour on electric power alone, the 530e can be used in all-electric mode on the motorway. Of course, you're going to see that range depleted quite quickly when travelling at such a high speed. Realistically, it's better suited for lower speeds, but it just shows that you can do it. It's a quiet and refined place to spend time too. Though there is a small amount of road noise which is generated by these large wheels, it's largely a quiet and comfortable place to be. Certainly, the 530 excels itself over longer journeys, and the whole experience is only heightened by the ability to drive on electric power alone, where the whole car becomes really hushed and really quiet. BMW has also really nailed it when it comes to the gearbox in this car. It's a ZF automatic, and the responsiveness that you get from it is excellent. Where we've seen other manufacturers use gearboxes that bring in a certain amount of delay, particularly when you're coming away from a roundabout or from a dead stop, the one in this 5 Series gets rid of all that, and it really makes the whole thing feel far more alert, far more alive, and just more responsive in general. It is a physically big car though, and on smaller roads, particularly like the ones we're on today, you do have to just be slightly wary of its size. It's incredible to think how quickly the 5 Series has grown over the years, and this is easily the largest one yet.
The updated 5 Series is a pretty compelling choice as it is, but this electrified powertrain only helps to sweeten the deal. If you're a business user and you want to save costs, or if you're a private user who does shorter trips and wants to save money on fuel while lowering emissions, then the 530e makes a really solid case for itself. As an all-around package, this is one plug-in hybrid which is well worth checking out. Thank you for watching this motors.co.uk new car review, and if you'd like to see other videos on some of the 530e's key competitors, then click some of the links coming up next.